Why don't we start off with just to you, what does it mean, open social media, just generally in this world today?
Very simply, it's about, just like you and I were doing before the show began, is having an open conversation about what matters. And what matters is who we are, what we know, who we know, and to make that visible and public. And that allows you to have better relationships with your customers and employees.
When you move to social media, what are kind of, to you, the most important capabilities, whatever you want to call them?
Well, leadership is the number one capability. It's about people, process, and technology. So people's number one. Okay. And that means, I think our generation, you and I, grew up in a time where closed matters, is what I always say. You know, it was behind closed doors, it wasn't visible, it was expensive to communicate, and that's the way we were born and bred. And so I think it's about leadership first. I call it now followship, which is how are you going to be a good leader by becoming a really great listener? And that's what it begins with. And then we can talk about the processes and technologies as we continue in our discussion here today.
For illustration, let's talk about some examples of companies that have done it well.
Okay.
Say in the services industry, somebody you would point to that you say, hey, these people get it and they're doing it well.
Sure, let me start with, I'll start with sports. Okay. Nice and easy. Okay. Most sports organizations know they have fans, whether they're called Red Sox Nation or ESPN or Sports Illustrated, know they have fans. And so they've done a really good job. If you think about building a sports franchise that becomes an information community. So we work with at Mazinga ESPN, right? And we work with MLB, Major League Baseball, helping building out their fan network as an information business where we let the fans talk to each other. On the services side, I'm going to take pause, because services businesses think it's about their intellectual property, and they're not very good right now. Lawyers, accountants, bankers, doctors, they still think it's about them, not about their community.
How about financial services?
They're just getting into the idea that says, gee, their customers really matter, and listening to their customers, letting them have their customers have a conversation is a brand new thesis for them. I know they've said for a long time our customers matter, but it's really not. It's about assets under management. So they're just beginning the journey of giving their customers, a voice, like Motley Fool.
How about who's done it well in retail?
Great example. Nike has done an amazing job, and I'm going to use them as a product firm. Okay. They've understood that their Nike runners really do get the concept of connecting with other runners, plotting your course, putting chips in your shoes, sharing your course with others. When you do running clubs, they've done a great job of realizing that runners want to talk to other runners. So that's a good example. Even some of the retailers you think about, which I love, is Zappos and Amazon. I mean, those are huge retailers. Even Wal-Mart today are beginning to realize the value is in their network and letting them communicate one to another.
And what are some of the things these companies are doing?
Very simply, start simply. They're letting them join discussion boards, letting them have real-time discussions in chat rooms. Like you and I are saying, we both know someone called Dan Bruns who's been doing this since 1986. Chat rooms and chat boards are not new. Yes, today's current version of them is called Facebook and Twitter, but allowing customers to chat online about buying things, selling things, product reviews, Amazon and Zappos are King Kong.
What are some examples of companies that have been undone because they didn't get this?
My favorite one is General Motors. If you imagine, the General Motors chairman lost $9 billion on average per year, $80 billion from 2001 to about 2007, when he gave a Senate testimony that said there was nothing wrong with his product. It was all about the fact that his customers didn't know anything about his product. Now that's an interesting statement that says his product was good, it was just the customers who were bad. A lot of customers to be saying that. So GM went bankrupt, as you know, and he lost a lot of money for his company. And so I think General Motors got it wrong. And Chrysler is also airing already, if you saw last week's news, about the fact that Chrysler didn't understand social media as well.
Is there anything that Blockbuster could have done differently?
Slightly, slightly. Going online, so I'll start with the way I think about social matters and open matters. I think everybody gets closed matters. Every banker, lawyer, accountant, CEO, board member gets how to be closed. Some of them might even make the progression to open matters through being online matters. They realize, gee, I got to go online, I got to have a website, I got to have a podcast, I might be able to have e-commerce. That's interesting, that's about a decade old. They might move from online matters to engagement matters. I may want to give you a voice and listen to what you're saying. And so they might want to engage their customers in a two-way conversation. Social matters and open matters are where there's real mutuality on it. And so I think leaders need to move from closed, open, and social and they need to understand that the web is part of that transition. A mutual conversation like you and I are having is part of it as well. So that's called engagement.
Well, let's take back to Blockbuster. Of course, Netflix
No
came along.
mutuality and no open and no online.
Now, you know, Netflix beat the heck out of them, but they had, you know, the traditional installed base type of business. And how could they have dealt with that?
They never made it to step 2, as we said. They were starting from closed matters, literally a storefront that closed at night or on the weekends, and they only opened open hours, certain time. They didn't even get to online matters. I mean, I tried using their service, and I used to buy their stuff and rent their stuff from their closed stores. They never even got to online matters. They never understood that their customers wanted to use their computers to basically get access and purchase and receive videos on demand. I'm not talking about videos on demand in real time like they can do today. I mean, just I want to get them when I want them, when I want them. They never even made it to online matters. They barely made it to engagement matters. Gee, I want to hear what you have to say, and forget about social matters. So Netflix engages, you know, people even to do their algorithms for them. They really do get every part of the business model. Blockbuster got closed matters, and in the end, they went closed, literally dark.
So if you had been advising them a few years ago on a strategy to pursue in order to kind of ease their way or move quickly, depending on how fast you thought Netflix was coming along, what would you have told them to do? Kind of what would be the process, steps, or whatever?
If you're a closed company, I don't care what you are, you're a closed company in terms of your services, your software, your hardware, your retail product, you have hours, you know, bankers' hours, retail hours, that's closed matters. You need to first think about the web as a way to go online, not to be an extension of being closed, but beginning to migrate your business to be around other people. So you can be online matters, but you then to think about the web as a web of confluence, a web of interactions, and so you can get into engagement matters, a two-way conversation, like you and I are talking and listening. We're both not talking at each other, we're not closing the interview in the middle and say, gee, it's over. And then the third thing is then to become socially engaged the way Netflix is. I would have said, first go online, then engage using today's technologies, and then be really good at social interactions. They never even made it to step 1, which is let's go from closed to online. Let's just try that.